who growing up, I didn't really see positive images when it comes to praying for a spouse, especially from women. She was just mirrored as though it was war. And I'm like, if this thing is war, maybe, yeah, I'm like, maybe I don't really want, like, so I was like, I'm not in their mood. And I was never interested, to be honest, to start with from the get-go, because it was always shown as a negative thing. You see people crying to God for a spouse, like mostly women, people crying to God for a spouse, and you now eventually see them in the marriage and they're miserable. I'm like, well, you cry to God about this thing. So I just couldn't put it on. So I thank God for the right images that came in, right? And God just had to use, yeah, he has used this book really to heal some of those negative images. One book I would start from is, this book, Praying for Your Husband, the Child Prayer Journal is by Pastor Mildred, and from the get-go, because it was always shown as a negative thing. You see people crying to God for a spouse, like mostly women, people crying to God for a spouse, and you now eventually see them in the marriage and they're miserable. I'm like, well, you cry to God about this thing. So I just couldn't put it on. So I didn't have a good relationship with praying about marriage, even praying for your husband and all those things, right? And then there's the other extreme. So there are amazing, platforms that people are starting these days, because I mean the technology age, right? There's prayer platforms, all those things, even amazing things like Hallelujah Challenge, right? It's an amazing platform, but doing it actually did something on my inside. There was healing, there was, and it's Hallelujah Challenge. You are praising God through whatever struggle you're going through, right? But you see people going to the extreme with all those things, right? So the issue is always the extremes for me, right? You pray about your marriage, pray for your spouse, but you can't force God to give you a spouse. You can't force. And I know it's funny now. A famous person made a post recently, and it took a screenshot of people's prayer on the comments of Hallelujah Challenge, and people were literally putting people's name and saying, Lord, let so and so person love me. Let this and this person. I get the screenshot because I'm like, I don't want to eventually deny that I saw this. This is a real thing. It's not person's full name. Lord, no, that's manipulation.
Yeah.
You are trying to blackmail God. So these are the images I saw, right? And I'm just like, this is not a good thing. But then I thank God for the right images that came in, right? And so I'm never married yet, but imagine me buying a book to pray for my husband. So God just had to use, and he has used this book really to heal some of those negative images, to teach me that these things are important, right? Because some places in the book, you start praying about things like, against adultery, against this, that, and I'm like, adultery? The man will even confess, but it's important. You are praying like you are depositing money in a bank, and then when you need it, you can go and withdraw. Yes, you stored it up. So I just began to, learn it, and then she calls it the Child Prayer Journal. So it's a prayer journal, right? So there's a part where you read the title of the chapter, then you go into, she'll explain what you're about to pray about, which is good because, wisdom and power. Yes, they have to be married. So she explains what you're about to pray about, then you pray about the situation, whatever topic it is. Then behind it, she can give like a story, just an experience, and the place where you actually know how to journal, right? And it might seem like a lot of pressure when you start, especially if you're someone who's unmarried, maybe you're a bit engaged or you're single, and just trying to believe God for his spouse. A godly spouse, right? To have a kingdom marriage. And it may look like a lot of pressure because, in the beginning part, she said, put his picture, put his name. You don't have to do all of that if, the person's not in the picture yet.
Yeah.
Right? Why can't you just be saying, my husband? So whoever comes to get that crown, eventually, so I think it's a beautiful one. And for someone like me who the Lord has been preparing for years and having me pray, and I'm like, God, is it that deep? But it's actually that deep, right? Because of how much the enemy is against godly homes and Christian marriages and godly seeds these days. I think it is worth written a book about the topic, especially if you have a negative ideology about what it looks like. And he's such a good guy. She gives you the prayer points. Sometimes I pray the prayer points more than once. I try to do it, and God will put you on a different regimen. For me, I do it daily, right? For some people, it doesn't have to be daily. Maybe it's once a week.
Welcome to Book Oracle, a journey where words come alive and wisdom leaps off the pages.